This morning we're going to be looking at a piece by Italian composer Fausto Romitelli. The piece is called Professor Bad Trip Lesson 1 from 1998. And the instrumentation has Pierrot Ensemble as its core group, I guess you could say, plus percussion, plus viola, plus electric guitar. I decided to include it in this series because Pierrot plus percussion is super common, Pierrot plus viola is less common, and electric guitar is not common at all, but it's a Romitelli thing. He has lots of pieces with electric guitar. And out of all of those pieces, out of all of those chamber pieces, this is the smallest and closest thing to a just straight Pierrot ensemble. If we look at the percussion list, it's pretty extensive: vibraphone, Glock, marimba, pitched gongs, low C sharp, high C sharp, G, and three splash cymbals, I guess, or three suspended cymbals, tam-tam, bass drum, guitar pitch, pipe, and the piece includes a fixed media part. Romitelli has a number of pieces, and they all have most of them are for chamber ensemble that's like an octet or nonet, including electric guitar, sometimes electric bass, and electronics. That's sort of his go-to ensemble. And this is a really nicely handwritten score. You can see that his page layout is the same on every page. It's 5 measures that are evenly spaced. And he has 3 lines at the bottom for his electronics, but I don't think he ever uses them to write anything. But they're there. So a little bit about Romitelli. He's a spectral composer who died quite young. He was born in 1963, died in 2004, and all of his most famous works are from the 90s until the year he died. Some of his most famous works are in the early 2000s. He worked at EarCam and was a student of 2 spectral composers, Dufour and Griset. His music is well performed, but unfortunately he did not have a very long career because, again, he died young. He died at age 41 after a long battle with cancer. If you are somebody who comes from that sort of background with rock music, metal music, and you're trying to get into composition, I think he's a good guy to check out. And spectralism in general is pretty good for genre mixing, in my opinion. That's all I have to say about this before we get into it. Let's have a listen, and I'll let you know my thoughts hearing it this time. Okay, so today I was listening to the Ensemble Ictus recording, and I had a lot of fun looking through the score. I was hanging on for dear life, I think, to follow it at times, but it was pretty easy to latch on to either the piano or the electric guitar or the bass clarinet. I think throughout the piece it's bass clarinet and bass flute, and the pianist switches at one point to just keyboards and sampling stuff. The way Romitelli explores the same sort of sonic idea, which is like a 10-second idea at first, and then just keeps varying it and changing it and repeating it, is very Like the influence of Gerard Grisey is very strong, but he does something different with it, I think, which is unique to him. And he is really good at writing these dense, like contrapuntal networks of like crisscrossing lines, I think. The electronics are doing a lot of heavy lifting. There's definitely amplification on every instrument, some effects processing on every instrument, like reverb and fixed media and sampling. But I do think that the part writing is also very good, and I liked a lot of the just sounds and sound world of it, like the super high bass clarinet stuff, almost sounding like a tenor sax, and the use of percussion, having like these gongs towards the end and vibraphone for most of the middle of the piece. It's I mean, it's a lot of percussion. He probably could have gotten away with less, but I like the use of it. I think the pianist doubles on kazoo here, and the clarinet doubles on harmonica. I always love when those small, like, inexpensive instruments bridge the gap between classical instruments and electronics. Oftentimes, something like a harmonica can really imitate electronic sounds better than anything the clarinet is going to play, for example. And you can kind of see this in some of Grisey's works. He tends to include accordion in his ensembles. Grisey was an accordionist as well. Overall, really fun, and I think Professor Bad Trip number 2 and number 3 add some brass. There's like 2 more musicians, and then he has other pieces that are even bigger. So I think this is the closest we're going to get to Pierrot Ensemble for Romitelli. Hopefully you're not one of those people who always wanted to merge classical and rock music, and now you're discovering this and shooting yourself in the foot. Hopefully it is like still inspiring to know that people were doing this 30 years ago. So, yeah. Tomorrow we're going to move on to a piece by Sharifi, I believe the composer's name is. Give me 1 second. It's like a piece from 2014. Yeah, the composer is Mohammed Amin Sharifi. He's from Iran, and this is one of his pieces for Pierrot Ensemble. Hopefully I can find a recording. If not, we're just going to move on to Grisey and maybe give a bit more context to what we just heard from Romitelli here.